Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Liberty, and here on this channel we talk about occult philosophy, the art of magic, and the magic of art. I highly recommend watching this video and all my other videos at 1.25 to 1.5 speed. Today we're covering Witchcraft 101. This will by no means be comprehensive. That would take me like a year to study and record, and yeah. So I'm going to explain some key terms, and if you have any questions at the end of the video, just drop them in the comments below and I'll answer it in the comments and or in a video to come. So first I want to address witchcraft as a separate thing that humans set out to do. Magic in itself is something that all humans do all of the time. Magic is all around us, and it's a consequence of consciousness. So if you exist by any means, you are producing magic. It's like shooting arrows out all the time, but if you're not aware that you're shooting arrows out, you may not know that you're the one that shot those arrows, and you may not know how to stop stabbing your mom in the eye or something like that. So learning how to do witchcraft or learning how to practice magic is learning how to work with your consciousness on purpose. And if you remember from one of my earlier videos, all is mind, all is consciousness. So when you're working with your own consciousness, you are inherently working with the consciousness of the all, or the collective consciousness. If you've come here knowing absolutely nothing about witchcraft, and you're an absolute beginner, honestly, I ain't your girl for that. You can definitely ask me any questions that you want, but I won't be covering the super basic stuff, like how witchcraft is not Wicca, Wicca is witchcraft, paganism is not necessarily witchcraft. But as a side note, paganism just means non-Christianity. Neo-paganism is what people think about when they say pagan. And then neo-paganism as a word has gotten a whole other meaning. So it's a bunch of like etymological rabbit holes here. So I want to start with the law of attraction. A lot of people are afraid of the law of attraction because they think it's witchcraft. Well, it is. It is witchcraft, but so is not practicing the law of attraction. The law of attraction is what it sounds like. It's a law. It has nothing to do with you participating in it or not. It's like gravity. It's going to happen whether you believe in it or not. The law of attraction states that like attracts like. And I'm not going to go super into the law of attraction because there's a lot of theories and a lot of talk about it. And it can get really muddy when you start talking about other kinds of terminology to explain some things. Like Abraham Hicks is someone who I really like to listen to, but they have a lot of nuanced terminologies that may not be understood by the regular person. After you listen to them for a while, it's way more understandable. But within the law of attraction community, there's a big focus on positivity. If you just be positive, then the thing that you want will come to you because you are in alignment with that thing. This is where the law of attraction differs, in my opinion, from the law of assumption, which is actually another name for the same law. But it's important to note that the law of attraction inherently, at least colloquially, has put in positive emotions into the law as a means to an end. The law of assumption, however, uses your brain as a whole and does not necessarily depend solely on emotion, and does not depend solely on the emotion that you think you will have. And that's important to say, that you think you will have, because the emotion that you think you will have when you have the new car that you manifested or that you did a spell for is not actually the feeling that you will have whenever you have that new car or whatever. This was a huge realization for me whenever I found it out. The law of attraction can in some circles end up with toxic positivity, which is never good. Whereas the law of assumption focuses on living in the end, or assuming that you already have the thing and then moving on with your life. So say I want $1 million. If I really, really research how millionaires act and think and everything, and then really incorporate having $1 million into my mindset, and then go to work normally, or do some gardening or something, make some food, just hold that consciousness, hold that mindset until I get $1 million. And by doing that, there are coincidences that will happen, and that's the magic. That's how magic looks. So in connection with the law of attraction and being grateful, attitude of gratitude, positivity kind of thing, I wanted to talk about what positivity actually does in your mind. And what it actually does is allows you to be happier. If you set out or intend to get a new car, it's very specific, it's the right color and everything, and you're intending on getting that car because you're not happy with the car that you do have, once you get that new car through magic or through other means, well, there is no other means, it's always magic, but once you receive that new car, you will not feel any different. Let me say it again for those in the back. You will not feel any different. You will not be more grateful than you were before for what you have. You might have maybe a day or two or a week of happiness, of fulfillment, but that's going to go away because it's based on the novelty of getting something new. Your brain always seeks homeostasis. So a surge in big emotion is actually a threat to your brain. It will lower those chemicals of dopamine, serotonin, whatever. It will lower that because it's seen as a threat. You are less likely to survive in a dangerous situation if you're super ecstatic. So just know that whenever you manifest the thing, you will feel exactly how you feel right now, maybe after a week of having the thing. So practicing positivity and practicing gratitude is actually witchcraft to manifest or bring into your life more happiness. It does not necessarily bring in more things that traditionally you would think would make you happy in and of itself, but it brings in happiness. But according to the law of attraction, which is definitely a thing, happy people get and do happy things. So if you're confused, good. That means you're learning. I also want to differentiate being positive and being grateful with being present and being mindful. Pretend for a second that you are in a spaceship and you're looking forward into the stars. You might be extremely aware of where you have been and extremely aware of where you're going, where you're headed, pointed to. However, if you never look down at the controls of your spaceship, you can't control where you're going. Being present and practicing mindfulness is like that. It's being in the present moment so that you can take hold of the controls. Let me explain something really quick. You don't have free will. You have free choice. Let me explain that. Your subconscious mind controls your impulses, your actions while you're awake and while you're asleep. The only choice that you have is choosing what to put in that subconscious mind. I know it's paradoxical and doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, that's life. All truths are half-truths and all lies are half-lies. The subconscious mind can also be thought of as the ethereal plane. And this is where your ritual witchcraft comes in. All of the rituals that you've ever seen, especially if they're long and drawn out, what their point is to lull the consciousness to sleep. I misspoke. to lull your ego into sleep, into a state where the ego is not resisting anything being put into the subconscious. And since all is mind and the universe is mind, when you imprint something into your subconscious, you're imprinting it into the subconscious of the universe, which means that you're changing a pattern outside of yourself also. As above, so below, as within, so without. This is how hypnosis works. This is how affirmations work. This is how people get indoctrinated into cults. This is how normal, healthy, happy people get sucked into cults. This is how your friend stays in that terrible relationship where they're getting beat. It's because their subconscious mind is being controlled by repetition, or through repetition. All a ritual is repetition. Does this mean that you can do anything repetitive and put something in your mind and it'll work as a spell? Not necessarily. Historically, there are things that just work with the human subconscious better than other things. That's why it's important to listen to people who have done things before, like done successful witchcraft, but it's also important to do your own witchcraft, because your specific consciousness, your specific subconscious is totally different and unique from everyone else. And by the same logic, something that works really, really well for you could just not work for anyone else. That's really why witchcraft is seen as a craft and as a practice, because it's extremely individualized. I'll have to do another video on the practical rituals and practical practices that I do every day, but just to list a few really quick right here. I do a morning routine every morning, or every-ish morning. Sometimes I forget a day, it's okay. I do the middle pillar exercise, followed by the Kabbalistic cross, followed by thanking my spirit guides, angels, and gods. And then I call upon my spirit guides, angels, and gods to guide me throughout the day for what I need guidance on. I do 3 circles of sage smoke around my hair every day. That's for cleansing the energy and kind of protecting, but mostly cleansing from the day before. Then I pull 3 runes for the day. It's kind of like a divinatory, like, news cast kind of thing. And then I pull some tarot cards to read my energy and to get advice from my spirit guides. Then I meditate for about 5 minutes and write down whatever messages I get from my spirit guides in my Book of Shadows. Every day I write down what I do, my rituals, and if I do anything extra, I write that down. I try to keep up with the new moon and the dark moon and different astrological happenings. Your Book of Shadows is kind of like a journal for your emotions, but it's also a scientific journal for experimenting. Magic is not like science, because part of the variables is your straight up consciousness. It's your childhood trauma, it's your mood that day, it's what you ate yesterday, it's your habits, it's your life, it's people around you, it's your spiritual protection, your emotional intelligence, it's everything. So it's really important to write down as much as you can. I'm not saying write everything down because that gets tiring quick, but it's an experiment journal. So you can write down things like what you're reading, what kind of gods you're talking to, stuff like that. I try to take a bath on the full moon and the dark moon. That's to wash off the conclusion of the last cycle and to cleanse myself for the next cycle, respectively. So the full moon is for a completion or a celebration, and then the dark moon is the day or night right before the new moon, and that's a new start. Magic is super complex. There are so many different ways to do it, and there's so many different practices around the world. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I love it so much, because I know that I'm never going to reach the bottom. There's absolutely no end. And even though I admittedly know a lot for, I guess, a beginner, I feel like I'm just starting. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'm honored that you would be here with me. Please subscribe because the channel is growing. And I absolutely love, love, love to hear your comments down below. Well, I guess read them, but, inner monologue, I hear them too. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!